What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones and House of the Dragon update video. In this video, I will show you all the new photos from the set of House of the Dragon second season. Now, if you haven't read George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood, I would recommend shutting off this video if you don't want to know what happens in the next season. These photos will reveal some of the biggest moments from the second season. Let's dive into all of House of the Dragon's new images now that I've gave you a fair warning. Now, as you all know, the Dance of the Dragons has more or less officially begun after Aemon and his massive dragon Vhagar devoured Lucerys Velaryon and his little dragon Arrax. We all saw this incredible moment happen at the end of the first season, and as you can imagine, that devastating event will send shockwaves throughout Westeros. The death of Lucerys and his dragon will be felt all over the Seven Kingdoms. Now, if you haven't read Fire and Blood or seen some of my other videos, then you will learn Daemon reacts to the death of Lucerys almost immediately. We saw him deliver the heartbreaking news to Rhaenyra at the end of the first season. In George R. R. Martin's Fire and Blood, Daemon isn't on Dragonstone with Rhaenyra when that happens, but he does send her a raven right away. In that letter to Rhaenyra, he demands a son for a son and an eye for an eye. He wants revenge in the worst way imaginable. What Daemon has done next leads to one of the most savage moments in all of A Song of Ice and Fire. Now, for those of you who don't know, Daemon has his lady Mysaria find some men who can go into the Red Keep at night and strike against Aegon and Helena's children.
History remembers them only as blood and cheese. One night, Queen Helena entered the royal apartments with her daughter and two sons to put them to bed. Without warning, Blood and Cheese burst in, daggers in hand. They told her that a debt was owed. A son for a son. Blood and Cheese demanded she choose which son would be ripped from her forever. Queen Helena pleaded with the men to kill her instead, but they refused. Weeping, Helena named her younger son, Maelor. Perhaps she thought the boy was too young to understand. Or perhaps because the older boy was King Aegon's firstborn son and heir. "You hear that, little boy?" Cheese whispered to the younger son. "Your mama wants you dead." Then Blood struck off the older boy's head with a single blow. When the guards burst in, they found Queen Helena still screaming, clasping her dead son's body to her, mad with grief. The blood of their children transformed a dynastic dispute into a war of annihilation. The grief and rage of losing a child could burn down the world. Either Aegon or Rhaenyra could live at the end, but not both.
Now, the reason why I showed you that video is because it leads right into the new photos from the set of House of the Dragon second season. These new photos show what is most likely the funeral of little Jaehaerys Targaryen. Not only does it say it on the little note, but we can also see the royal carriage as well. The funeral procession will go through the streets of King's Landing. We will most likely see Aegon and his sister wife Helaena riding in the wagon along with their dead son. You can see all the horses lined up along the street as well. Everyone in this city will be out here as they go by. Now, these photos also reveal another major moment from this season. I think the Blood and Cheese scene will break the internet in itself, but this other scene will shock everyone as well. In this other photo, we see another massive wagon that has something hitting underneath it. Well, according to some sources who were there on set that day, they say this wagon will be holding the head of Meleys, the dragon of Rhaenys Targaryen. As you all know, the dragons are made up entirely of computer-generated images. However, this wagon is holding a massive blue foam head that will stand in for Meleys, which they will later fix with CGI. Now, if any of you are wondering how Meleys dies, the scene from the History and Lore video might give you a good idea.
Rhaenyra had sent not an army, but her former mother-by-law, Rhaenys, and her dragon, Meleys. As her ancestor had done at the Field of Fire, Rhaenys gleefully began to incinerate Sir Criston's army. But Aegon had set a trap, and Rhaenys had flown right into it. As Rhaenys and Meleys blanketed Sir Criston's troops in dragonflame, two other dragons rose into the sky. Aemond on Vhagar, and King Aegon himself on the gleaming Sunfire. To her credit, Rhaenys didn't flee. Dragon fought dragons, and a second sun blossomed in the sky.
Aegon and his brother Aemon might defeat Rhaenys and her dragon Meleys, but that victory will come at a cost. The second season of House of the Dragon will be filled with a lot of amazing moments, whether they're seen as highs or lows for the Blacks or the Greens. As you can imagine, all hell is about to break loose in Westeros now that the Dance of the Dragons has officially begun. Let me know what you think about all these new photos down below. What scene are you looking forward to most, and what scene are you dreading the most? Leave me your thoughts about all this new information. As always, I have to thank all of you for watching another video. I hope everyone has a great day. I will see you again very soon. Bye. Now, for those of you who don't know, the writers for the Dunk and Egg series are on strike, as are many other writers for many other shows in Los Angeles and around the United States. Now, the good news is these writers will eventually be able to get back to work, although we don't know exactly how long this strike will last. And as long as the writers are on strike, they will not be able to work on the Dunk and Egg show. That new series will remain on ice until they're able to resolve the issue. Now, let me show you what George R. R. Martin said so you know exactly what's happening behind the scenes. He said, "The writer's strike is on. No one wanted this. No writer with an ounce of sense anyway. But the producers and the studios and the networks and the streamers gave us no choice. The guild negotiated right up until the final deadline on May the 1st, but it takes two to tango. In the waning hours of May 1st, the Writers Guild of America declared a strike. There are pickets in front of every studio lot and soundstage in Los Angeles and many in other cities as well. Get used to them. I expect they will be there for a long time. I am not in Los Angeles, so I cannot walk the line as I did back in 1988, but I want to go on record with my full and complete and unequivocal support of my guild. Now, how long will the strike last? No idea. Maybe the members will come to their senses tomorrow and offer some meaningful concessions, and the whole thing can be wrapped up next week. I would not bet the ranch on that, however. I have been through several of these since I first started writing for television and film back in 1986. The 1988 strike, the first one I was a part of, lasted 22 weeks, the longest in Hollywood history. The 2007 to 2008 strike, the most recent, went on for 100 days. This one might go on for longer. The issues are more significant. Ishmo and I have never seen the guild so united as it is right now. Writer strikes tend to be longer than other labor actions. That's the nature of the beast. Everyone has seen this storm coming a long way off, and accordingly, studios and streamers and networks have been stockpiling scripts for months. As of May the 2nd, the pens are down and the computer screens have gone dark all across Hollywood, but production will continue so long as there are scripts to shoot. Now, many of you will be wondering, rightfully, about the impact of the strike on my own shows. The writer's room on A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, The Hedge Knight, has closed down for the duration. Ira Parker and his incredible staff of young talents are on the picket lines. Across the ocean, the second season of House of the Dragon started filming April 11th and will continue in London and Wales. The scripts for the 8 Season 2 episodes were all finished months ago, long before the strike began. Every episode had already gone through 4 or 5 drafts and numerous rounds of revisions to address HBO's notes, my notes, budget concerns, and etc. There will be no further revisions. The writers have done their jobs. The rest is in the hands of the directors, cast and crew, and of course the dragons. Now, some of you, I fear, might be having anxiety attacks just now on the mistaken assumption that the strike affects the Winds of Winter. You can relax. The WGA is a union of film and television writers. It has nothing to do with novels, short stories, or any other forms of fiction, nor comic books and graphic novels, nor stage plays, nor the editing of collections and anthologies. And The Winds of Winter continues to be my #1 focus. Now let's be honest here, folks. He's nowhere near ready to release The Winds of Winter anyway, regardless if the strike had affected his own writing or not. Unfortunately, as I said before, it has affected HBO's new Game of Thrones series about Dunk and Egg. Those writers are no longer working on the show, at least for now. The good news is House of the Dragon has already started filming, so we don't have to worry about the strike slowing down that show. All of its episodes were already written many months ago. Hopefully this writer's strike will get settled soon, that way it doesn't affect House of the Dragon's 3rd season. As you saw, George R. R. Martin fears this might be the longest strike in Hollywood's history. So although it hasn't affected House of the Dragon's 2nd season, it very well could affect its 3rd season, depending on how long it does last. For now, we will just have to wait and see how everything does unfold. Now, it is hard to say how this might affect the show about Jon Snow. Now, if you remember, George R. R. Martin revealed Kit Harington had his own writers well over 6 months ago. If that's the case, they might have already wrote their 1st season, or at the very least, a pilot episode. So the strike might not have any effect on the series about Jon Snow, assuming they are still working on that show. its status is still unknown as of right now. As always, I will make sure to give you updates whenever something significant happens. Leave me some of your thoughts down below. Once again, I have to thank all of you for watching another video. I hope all of you have a great day. I will see you again very soon. Bye.